Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another live stream. Today is Friday, March 1st. That means it's the end of the month. It is in part also, I believe, the beginning of the Year of the Dragon for Hearthstone. And we'll talk about that later. Starting at 3:40 because I was actually watching myself play Stoneblock 2, which is a series that is either airing right now or about to wrap up. I think it's probably wrapped up at this point. And then I've found somebody who's playing Stoneblock 2 a little bit later than when I started playing it, and I'm watching them on YouTube, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much I didn't know, so much I did wrong on that series. And it really doesn't change my review and my kind of rage quit on Stoneblock 2. It's still the same issue. As a complete change up and attempt to be a simplification of Stoneblock 1, if you come into it not knowing every single mod that ever exists and not knowing how all of those mods work and how they're supposed to work in that specific Feed the Beast map, you're still going to be totally lost. The quest book does nothing to guide your hand after a certain point, and so if you just don't understand it, you just won't understand it. And so I don't feel guilty that I didn't know things that the game wasn't telling me at all. I think that is still very accurate depiction of what a lot of people's experience will be, particularly when you kind of understand that Minecraft is kind of a kid's game. There should be some quests there. Also, I've noticed that my audio is getting a little robotic-y, going into the red. Maybe it's been doing this the whole time. Maybe it's because I updated OBS. I'm gonna ask OBS about it and see if they have anything to say there. They probably won't. They'll probably just say post a log file. So I've turned down all the volume by 2.5 decibels, which pushes it down a little bit, you know. It's kind of 75% of what it was before, so I may be a little quieter, but it was, in my recordings, what I was hearing recently while I'm doing these Star Wars games. It was getting robotic-y and distorted when it was loud. I played, I think, like one Star Wars game yesterday, so I'm not getting very quickly here. Unfortunately, let's actually start doing something on Hearthstone. We made it to rank 17, that's nice. Let's see where that knocks us down. Unfortunately, because of the new system that will stop me from losing footage, it opens the door to me potentially losing footage in a different way and causes a problem regardless. And that is that now I may keep this Pizza Stone card back forever. That being said, they are going to add an option where you can have random card backs eventually. Yeah, there was a Hearthstone fire chat. So getting to rank 17 knocked me down to 20 instead of 22. Yeah, that pretty much sucks. It's like you never get anywhere ahead in ranked play unless you just spend way more time and way more energy than I do. Here we've got to watch and learn. Let's see if we can actually accomplish that. See if Tragic is viewable. Says he's doing battle and play mode. So yeah, the new issue with OBS is that it takes it a little bit of time now before you can hit record again. Particularly if you're streaming like a 5-hour video like these streams are. If I was to just go hit the shortcut key and say, alright, start recording the next episode, it wouldn't do it. And so often this will be a case where I cannot see the screen, and we'll disenchant that for dust. So it is very possible that I could hit record, play for an hour on a game, stop recording that episode. The OBS will then start converting the MKV to the MP4 file, which is what it has to do. And because of that, if I hit start recording again while it's converting, it just won't start recording. This compounds an issue that has been happening for at least a year now, where I've had a lot of trouble of doing, I guess I'm creating this phrase, the button seat economics of this job. It is really, really hard, both physically and mentally, to just stay seated and just keep on recording. And any little excuse to get distracted, my probably ADD rattled brain will grasp onto, and we will, this is nice. Like, being a fan of pizza, this is nice. Card back. So now there's a new excuse to record an episode, go watch YouTube for an hour and a half after recording maybe a 30-minute episode, and then maybe come back in the same day and record another 30-minute episode, and then maybe after that I'd have to take another break of some sort. And so yeah, there's just a lot of things that extends the problem on with the recording software, but not that big of a deal. I'll just have to learn to work around it. So this guy's card back, when we're here, one of the things they said they were going to introduce is there will be, they showed a picture of it, it was just like a generic brown Hearthstone card back, and it's just going to be a random card back per deck. I'm not sure if that means we're going to be able to get all card backs to go with the standard card back, or if I would have to implement it in every deck. But yeah, that, like, who cares about the card backs in general? This pizza one is probably the first one I've even really cared about. The Year of the Dragon, my expert guess will be there will be 3 expansions again for a year, so 1 every 4 months, which is odd because it feels like there should be another expansion in the next couple of weeks at minimum. I suspect the first expansion will be small dragons, and my hope is that it will be some kind of small dragons that synergize with each other and starts to make some sense. But I also heavily suspect a significant amount of these cards that come out will either slightly synergize with dragons or kind of have nothing to do effect wise with dragons, and they're just going to be random cards, because let's face it, every expansion it's like over 50% just random cards and ideas they thought of. I guess we're gonna just have to play Druid, low rank Druid today. We've got a lot of news too, so there's all kinds of things to do. I suspect the second expansion will be medium tier, so like 4th, 5th, maybe 6th turn dragons, compared to the first expansion being 1, 2, 3 dragons. And then I imagine the third expansion are going to be like top tier legendary dragons. Could be that it's all mixed together. Could be that it goes in the exact opposite direction. In the first expansion, it's top tier legendary dragons. That would stretch out the metagame quite a bit more if you did start with the first expansion being like top tier legendary ones, and then you next expansion adds some medium ones that synergize more with the top tier ones. That way, for that entire 4 months that the first expansion is out on its own, people don't even really know how to use it.
My greetings.
So yeah, that is a possibility on like how that would probably be what I'd want to do. The other way is you just mix it together. What would be shocking is if it turns out that there's actually no dragons in the Year of the Dragon and they go in a completely different way. I don't think that they're going to drop the idea of the 3 expansions being somewhat connected. I think that's something we'll probably see, is just some kind of storyline linear thing. That being said, the current storyline linear thing feels like it is just ended with like no real resolution. Let's see. So do we need to gain armor to deal minions? If it costs spell, it costs 5 or more. Alright, I'm just gonna do this. Gain 6 armor. And then gain 3 more armor. Now I've got 2 that will do 1 damage. And kinda nothing else I need to do. So it's in the turn. Yeah, I finally got a Content ID claim for the Star Wars theme on the most recent Star Wars game I uploaded, which is Pandemic's Battlefront 2. Not to be confused with the current EA Battlefront 2 game. Let's see.
Sweet essence.
Darn it. Battlefront 2, as kind of the first-person shooter series made by a different company than Activision Raven, who was making the last 2 Jedi Knight games. It's a much more multiplayer-centric game. It feels a lot like EA's Battlefront, which I assume that's intentional. That Battlefront in itself is the new Battlefronts are just remakes of the old Battlefronts. Oh man, did I have enough? No, I didn't. Just, I hate having to kill so many of these, but whatever. I don't know why this one's going whoops whoops whoops, but it's time to squelch that. But I'm surprised the older Battlefront the older Jedi Knight games didn't also get Content ID, and I still have a suspicion that it will. Let's see. Whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card. Okay. Just go ahead and draw a card. And draw a card, I guess. Go ahead and do that. And go ahead and do that. Let's see. Is there anything else going on with my channel? Not really. The Hearthstone expansion. The one thing that stood out, and they kind of just sneaked it in here, is they admitted a intent to monetize, like a direct and complete attempt to monetize the single player experience. So they're gonna start making you pay gold to do something. Let's see. They're gonna start asking you to pay gold or real money for expansions or possibly dungeon runs in the same way. It seems like that they are giving the indication that they have no idea or no plans to do anything other than dungeon runs. So yeah, that's kind of not where I'd want it to be. Let's see. Do I want to do this? Darn it. In the turn, I guess. So yeah, they're gonna try and steal some money out, rob people blind on dungeon runs, and that also means that their focus is not gonna be to do any more puzzle things or do anything new in particular, and that doesn't sound intriguing to me at all.
Warriors of the frozen wastes, rise.
There we go. So yeah, with Activision Blizzard falling apart, it seems like this could be the last season or even mid-season here, where Hearthstone eventually just goes into maintenance mode. I wouldn't immediately claim that they're going into maintenance mode right now for the entire Year of the Dragon. They're still trying to promote it and make it be a thing, but I would say they are getting closer. Could have played that earlier and gotten more armor. So let's start covering the rest of the news, because there's a ton of news. After a stream like Wednesdays, I do have a slight inclination where I would like to just ban a few key phrases and a few key topics, because I really try not to just get on the same rants over and over again, but it seems like there's
Almost out of cards.
it's very difficult to do that.
Job's done.
There you go.
My hand is too full.
And we may actually just have a lot of redundant news articles. We had games left over from Wednesday too. So we'll see what happens there. I'm trying to open all the new news. Why there's any news happening is slightly questionable. Like, it really shouldn't be happening. Oh, darn it. Like, I'm trying hard to win here, and at least I'm playing cards, but it seems like I'm just screwing myself over again and again. So, yeah. We've got a lot of games that we'll try and go through today. I think Fridays kind of are a bit of a cutoff point where we have to kind of make it or break it. Alright, so 4 and 1 damage, and that one, and that one. So we have a game on Steam called Too Light X Umbra. It doesn't completely strike me as just an RPG Maker game, although it probably is. There's a slightly different art style here. I'd almost call this artistic and not just bad. Here's the problem with something like this. This looks pretty decent, but I'm not really shopping for old school looking RPG games, regardless if they're made in RPG Maker. Again, here is another art style. I'd call this an art style, not bad art. Yeah, I don't see here's another character. I don't see myself wanting to ever play these kinds of games. This is $9.99. I bet it probably is a decent RPG if this is the kind of games you play almost exclusively. You might consider this. For me, it doesn't have relevancy. It's hard to justify it in any way. Let's see. I can do all these cards. Am I gonna lose next turn? I don't know. I don't think I will. So yeah, that one for me is not coming on. By the way, I want to point out that this will be the last day for me to e-bag for the Humble Neptunia bundle at the $12 level, if you would be so kind. So if there's somebody out there that wants to support me and go to Humble Bundle and donate $12 to a charity of their choosing, and then give me these Steam codes through Twitter direct messages for all of those Neptunia games, because you have, well, that would be greatly appreciated. I was gonna say because you have no actual interest in playing them yourself, but you may, so it doesn't matter. If you want to support me and donate those games, that would be great. Buying games that might not be considered YouTube content friendly is a great way for me to still support that part of the video game industry while not having to spend a considerable amount of money on it myself. If nobody takes up that offer, then I will just buy them myself. But I was gonna give people the opportunity to support me. There's a YouTuber, he's not a video game critic or anything, and I don't know if he's really great, who has done a thing with his Patreon where if you're a $15 Patreon subscriber, he'll rant about anything you want him to rant about, which kind of means he won't talk to you, or he has enough fans where he's at that point where he won't talk to fans during live streams or in any other way unless you pay him. And it really comes off to me like a screw you pay me attitude that I don't think I could easily get behind. It seems crazy to me, honestly, that anybody would want to pay somebody to have somebody talk about something that they very possibly have no interest or knowledge of. It's hardly like the YouTuber is going and doing a deep dive research style video where he's learning about the topic. He's really just spending like 2 minutes hyping himself at the beginning and end, and then maybe as little as 3 or 4 minutes actually talking about the topic. And then on top of that, he's flooding his YouTube channel, and everybody subscribed to his YouTube channel, with all of these videos as individual videos at the end of the month because he can't schedule it right, or is too stupid to figure out how to schedule it right. It would be easy enough to say on the Patreon promise for that tier, say you will get your video throughout the course of the next month, and then have each of those videos scheduled for the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 8th, 9th, 10th, so on and so on, all the way up to 28. There are 28 days in the shortest month of the year, so then you just have 28 people that get that reward, which I'm fairly certain Patreon does allow you to limit. Why can I not watch Tragic? He's probably not really doing battle in play mode, I bet. That's what I suspect. So are we gonna just add random people to the friends list for watch and learn? We may have to. So yeah, I'm watching with interest to see if maybe flooding a YouTube channel so much, like he posted like 53 videos or something in one day, and it's like, come on, this is ridiculous. Even if people like you, the last thing they want to do is get 53 notifications in the same time frame. But then he also posted a video explaining why he's gonna do the things he's gonna do the way he's gonna do it. So, I mean, that is typical of a lot of people, is that they literally have their head so far up their butt, and they have enough people who are sycophants that will agree with them that they won't take any criticism or change even the slightest. I guess I may have released an entire series like at once, but at the very least I think I tried to stretch it out over the course of several hours, and that was probably a mistake even in that instance to go that route. And I think I put out a video just to get it out because of a timing issue or something. I don't know why that would have been an issue, though. I can't see the way I do things now for that to ever be an issue. Let's see.
For the wild.
Let's see. Moving on. Game of Sutra has an article. PlayStation's upcoming Chinese conference aims to boost locally made games. PlayStation has announced a conference to share news on games being developed through its China Hero Project, a 2016 initiative that aims to bolster Chinese games industry by offering support for games being made by Chinese developers. The announcement, shared by Nico Partners analyst Daniel Ahmed on Twitter, says that the event itself will be held on March 7th and will reveal launch dates for some of the titles being made as part of the program. So, yeah, there is definitely some weirdness about how as soon as PlayStation moved its headquarters to California, although I guess maybe the 2016 was before that point, they immediately tried to get in bed with China in some way. On the face of it, the project does not sound particularly offensive, though. It's like, it makes sense that you would want to potentially support developers anywhere in the world if they're gonna make a good game, and then maybe get some PlayStation exclusivity for that. It's odd, though, that Sony, a Japanese company, would even be interested in that, but I guess Sony always looks like it probably is trying to be a more world-centric company. Yeah, let's do this. The other thing here is this kind of is just the same thing that China has been saying anyways, is that you basically have to partner with a Chinese company to make any profit, and basically have to allow those Chinese companies to steal intellectual property and insider trade secrets. So I'm looking at the trailer video that was linked by that Twitter post. I'm seeing a spaceship that's flying around. The graphics are rough, but there's nothing there that polish wouldn't fix. He's flying outside of a spheroid planet-looking thing that has kind of a shield around it, and then the ship flew away, and it has a trail of rainbow lights with the PlayStation buttons on it. So I'm not sure what I'm seeing now has anything to do with actually any game whatsoever.
Job's done.
Yeah, this actually looks like it's just a trailer and teaser. Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
That was a video that was just a teaser. Let's see. This video goes on for 14 minutes. I'm seeing a demo of a game where you're fighting zombies, which very possibly would be censored. I'm seeing a guy with a gun, which very well may be censored. Like, it's kind of impossible to say any of these developers could even publish or get their games approved in China. So unless these are Chinese developers who are making games for sale outside of China, which doesn't make a lot of sense, I don't get it. Like, you basically have to support people of Chinese descent who have expatriated themselves out of China and have a company in a different country. Thus, they're in a country that has like freedom of speech and can actually endeavor to do an artistic creation without being hamstrung by large amounts of censorship. And even in that case, a first-generation expatriated Chinese person might have been so brainwashed by the Chinese government that they would inevitably be self-censoring themselves so much that they wouldn't create a very interesting product. Trailer now is showing a space simulation game of some sort. Let's see. There we go. But it looks like, well, it looked like they were just using gun-like objects to weld, but then all of a sudden it turned into people shooting guns in space, which I'm not sure bullets would fly in space.
Whoops.
That's an odd combination. Like, I haven't seen. This looks like the International Space Station, and it looks like people just shooting each other around it, which is kind of antithetical to what the idea of cooperation in the International Space Station should be. Let's see, let's jump to these trailers of these other games. And these games look like incredibly awful, cheap Chinese games. I will give them that. This looks like a real products that could really turn into something interesting. Let's see. If I did this, and then I'll just kill that. There we go. Next on the trailer, there's a kind of mecha battle, kind of anime-esque looking game. Now I'm looking at a side-scrolling mecha game, beat 'em up, shoot 'em up platformer. Actually looks slightly interesting. Now I'm seeing something that looks like it's a kind of Final Fantasy RPG style game. Let's see. One of the games is called Monkey King, surprise, surprise, and one is called Lost Souls Aside. Yeah, none of these games look amazingly great, like AAA tier, real hyper realistic RTX style graphics, but they look great. Otherwise, they look like a low, slightly lack of polish AAA game, like just slightly below what you would expect from your average EA game or Ubisoft game, which is a good starting point. I can't deny that.
For the wilds.
And this. So, yeah, with the standard amount of trepidation, this Chinese conference might announce some cool games. Will these cool games come to the rest of the world and West? I'm not sure. That's another problem, is that it might be that they're really cool games that are only in Chinese. Which, okay, at that point, what does that do for anybody? Okay. Just drawing cards. Alright. Alright, so this one's gonna die anyways.
For the wild.
That one would kill me. So I'm gonna lose.
Job done.
Moving on to the next story, GameIndustry.biz has an article. Mobile gaming studio S Viper raises $2.8 million. Modern Times Group leads funding for studio and business growth expansion. What is S Viper? S Viper apparently is the developer of a game called Super Spell Heroes, which must be a mobile game that I've never heard of. There we go. Alright, so Tragic says I can challenge him, but I can't spectate him. So either Tragic is not there. And we'll just see if we can friend this person. And while we're at that, okay, let's see. We can just sit here for a second and try and get somebody to jump into a game so we can spectate them. We should probably play more. We've got plenty of news and it's hardly like I'm moving fast through it. Gamer Sutra has an article. Roblox boasts over 1 billion hours of engagement per month. A significant amount of that I imagine is streamers. But apparently kids are into Roblox too. I don't know why anybody would be into Roblox over Minecraft. Other than maybe the Bedrock edition and the mobile versions of Minecraft. Some of the limited mobile versions of Minecraft are probably not up to what the Java version of Minecraft is. So that could be a factor. So now it says they're both making a deck. Alright. Now is not really the time to build a new deck, in my opinion. Like, I want to wait till the next expansion comes out. Next expansion kind of has to come out pretty fast, otherwise I'm going to end up opening 50, 60, 80 even packs, which wouldn't be terrible for the next expansion. Although it's going to kind of suck if the next expansion is bad. But I'm kind of committed. The way this is going to go with expansions is where can we show it? Like, everything down here is going to go in the wild, and so either I could choose to maybe open some Rastakhan's packs, but that's not very smart either. I think Year of the Dragon will be the year that we'll just buy only the next expansion going forward, and we'll try to get close to a 100% completion on everything going forward, and every now and then we'll think about maybe crafting some of the other cards that are in wild, but probably not. I don't know if we're ever going to get enough gold or enough interest to, or enough dust to craft every single card for a 100% complete collection. Alright, here we go. Tragic is in the game. Let's watch. And while we watch, I'll try to burn through news as fast as possible. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Roommate Group announces a new independent co-development studio, Dragon's Lake Entertainment, to focus on major console and PC titles, co-creation and support. I don't know who Roommate Group is, though. Dragon's Lake Entertainment is brand new. Roommate is based in Limassol, Cyprus, with the production team in Kiev, Ukraine, and some presence in California. So it's kind of all over the world. So yeah, that might be interesting. Might not. It's a little scary politically to have a business in Ukraine in general, as it's being annexed and taken over by Russia. So yeah, that's weird. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. PS Vita officially ends production in Japan. Now, at this point, let's see. The model page for the 2 remaining variants say that shipments are finished. At this point, does that mean you can't get a Vita in Japan? No, there's probably plenty still available. It might be at a good point, if you ever did want to get a Vita, to think about ordering one. That being said, I don't know why you would want to get a Vita for any reason other than to play Vita games. Because, like, and probably there's a decent argument at this point to play, like, stolen, pirated Vita games. If you're trying to use it as like some other device for like to run like ROMs or emulators, it's probably not going to be as good as like the newest Raspberry Pi 3, the Model B Plus, and whatever comes out next year, whether it's a Model C or or Raspberry Pi 4. At that point, I think that certainly would blow the Vita out of the water. Like, technology is just going to move forward. The Vita does have the nice little thumbsticks and the D-pads and the buttons, which is not something you get by default on anything else. But the form factor of the Vita is not particularly loved. Here we can even do a web peek just to talk about it. Like, this is not the style of locations I'd want the left stick on. I'd like this reversed for the Xbox. I don't care what the buttons actually say. There's a PlayStation button here. There's left bump, right bump. I believe this is a touch screen. Of course, headphone jacks and plugs, but not any modern USB-C plug or anything like that. Speakers on both sides. Pretty quickly you'll see something better as far as a form factor than this. If you compare this to even what the Switch looks like, the Switch is a much bigger screen. You'd be smarter to buy a Switch, which they've gotten like Android running on now, and mod that now than you would to buy a PS Vita. Unless you're just getting it really cheap and you just enjoy a challenge. Vita was a very big deal in Japan particularly. It's not so much a big deal though in the West. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz will have a lot of articles mentioning the Vita, and I'll just skip over all those because there's really nothing new to say. They announced this, they knew this was going to happen. It's not a surprise at all. Moving on though, GameIndustry.biz has an article. Dropbox's Angela Roseborough is Riot Games' first Chief Diversity Officer. Quote, I was so taken by the heart and soul of this company. In spite of setbacks or hurdles, I'm excited to be part of this journey. End quote. So, Angela Roseborough worked at Dropbox before. She's now going into Riot to teach them to have less controversies, or to here's the problem with a story like this. You could say, well, this is just a naked appeasement to SJWs and people who were complaining about what was basically nothing, or you see it that this is a true first step of an attempt to clean up the toxic culture of Riot Games. And all of the mainstream video game journalists went with the story that sells more clicks and sells more ads, which is that Riot was a toxic workplace. So, and even I, while I question some of the complaints as being childish and not realistic, some of the complaints clearly show a lack of professionalism, and so there does need to be some work that needs to be done. We'll see what happens, and almost any job, you'll, depending on what office you are, who your boss is, who you're dealing with on day to day, like you could work in a company and it could be a nightmare for you, and then the person in one floor up is having a completely different experience. But yeah, the thing, they don't show a picture in the GameIndustry.biz article, or at least my ad blocker blocks all the pictures on GameIndustry.biz for some reason. They've run like all of their pictures through a flagged advertising IP, I guess. But one of the other articles that mentions shows a picture of her, shows her as a what looks to be a African American woman. So they're going with at least 2 check marks on intersectionality, minority there, which makes sense. Ah, wow. Apparently I have just collected the last legendary I needed. One of everything gives you 100 dust. Some of these rewards you never know. So this must have been the last epic card I needed to get. Icicle. Let's see, Tragic's on there. Good luck with the pack. Smiley face, smiley face. Thank you, Tragic. So, 35 dust for 3 of those cards. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Where's the 4th card? Let's see. And I could spend 400 dust to have 2 of everything, but I'm not actually sure on the classic pack if I am missing anything else. So if I go here and type in missing, and see when they add something else to classic, I wonder if I will get the opportunity. Yeah, I have 2 of everything else. But this was added, Icicle, so if they add something else, do I get another 100 dust for having 1 of everything? Maybe. If I were to get like the complete collection of Unguru, would that give me 100 dust? 100 gold? Is that really worth it? Now I did have a thought here about like what I was actually missing as far as this expansion, because if the next expansion really sucks, it might make sense to try and get a complete collection here. It's kind of hard to tell how much dust that would cost. There's a few there. What if I was just to go standard and then missing and then rare? I think I probably have all of the common cards. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000, 1100, 1200, 1300, 1400, 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800, So I could use all of this dust to get all of the common rares, if that's really where it would want to go to. Of course, if I was to go for everything, that would cost a little bit more. And then it starts to get really expensive though if I was to try and get all of the missing epics. I'm not going to count this, but let's just see how many pages of epics we're missing. 24 pages of epics, with each one costing 400. That's way too much. And then I might not even be missing too many legendaries, but they're so expensive. Yeah. 15 pages of legendaries at 1600 dust, so I could craft basically 2 legendaries. So we're still a far way away from having a complete collection in total, even on the Americas account. 25 pages of legendaries in Wild. Alright, I guess I'll keep that person I friended, and let's just play a little bit of ranked play. Just try to throw Zoo Warlock in there. I keep thinking Zoo Warlock has a high win ratio. I'm not sure it really does, or if I just got lucky once and then fell in love with it.
Gul'dan versus Jaina.
Let's see. TechRaptor has an article. Video game releases for March 2019, Devil May Die Twice. So let's just do, I don't know if this is really news worth mentioning, but I kind of think it is. Like, March 1st is ToeJam and Earl Back in the Groove. I hear that's bad. A game called Dawn of Man and Dead or Alive 6. March 5th is RBI Baseball 2019. Eternity: The Last Unicorn. Wow, I didn't realize that game was coming out that quickly. Just play that. The Occupation is coming out, and Left Alive is coming out. I feel like there's 2 or 3 games called Left Alive, or have Left Alive in the name. March 6th is Gungrave VR. March 8th is Kirby's Epic Yarn and Devil May Cry 5. I would say we're starting to see slightly better release windows of these games. Like, there's not a ton of overlap for Devil May Cry 5 and Kirby's Epic Yarn. But overlapping 2 very different games on the same release date might be a smart move, because you could go buy Kirby's Epic Yarn for maybe a kid and then buy Devil May Cry for yourself while you're there, if you're in the store anyways. March 12th is the Caligula Effect Overdose. The Lego Marvel Collection. Again, very, very different games, so that makes sense compared to some of the previous release dates we've seen this year, where it's 3 AAA games coming out within 2.5 weeks. It felt like, of just like, why are you competing? Why not push it a month, or make it come out a month earlier? Well, you really can't make something come out earlier than when it's done, so just push it. It would be my suggestion.
Don't tell me what to do.
March 13th is Baba Is You, which is that puzzle game where you change the wording and it changes the coding of the world. March 15th is Tom Clancy's The Division 2. It's kind of ridiculous to call that a Tom Clancy's game, really. It's just The Division 2. Also on 15th is One Piece World Seeker. Again, not much overlap on those games. March 19th is the SNK 40th Anniversary Collection and Fate Extella Link. I'm not saying which consoles these are coming out for, or PC or anything like that. I'm just quickly going through this. March 20th is Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, Everybody. March 21st is Wii The Revolution. I've heard of that game, but I don't remember anything about it. March 22nd is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. And also Unravel 2. March 26th is Generation Zero, MLB The Show 19, and Our World Is Ended. Although I thought I saw another article that said Our World Is Ended has been pushed back. Also on the 26th is The Walking Dead Telltale series, the final season, episode 4. Take Us Back. I'm not sure if episode 4 is the final part of this. Also on that same day is Nelkin the Legendary Alchemist, Altaires of the New World, and the Danganronpa trilogy for PS4, and Final Fantasy VII for the Switch and Xbox One, and the Princess Guide. So once we start getting to March 26th, you have a lot of late month announcements that I feel are likely to get pushed. If that would be my guess as to how this is going to break down. The 28th is The World Next Door. I don't know if I've heard anything about a game called The World Next Door. March 29th is Yoshi's Crafted World, which is weird that you're releasing Kirby's Epic Yarn and Yoshi's Crafted World within the same month. That's bad on Nintendo. Even though one is a 3DS game and one is a Switch game, it seems like you're cannibalizing your own market.
Your magic shall not save you. Your magic shall not save you.
Your soul is mine.
Let's see, do I want to draw a card? I don't need to. March 29th is also Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered and Tropico 6. So that is a very, very busy month. Although I will say, not a ton of AAA games here. Like The Division 2 is the Western AAA game. Devil May Cry 5 is the Eastern AAA game. There, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice also competing in that. This one's gonna kill me, so I have to do something here. So yeah, a big March. I suspect, oddly, that we're in this circle of, yes, 2019 is going to prove itself to be, my suspicion, the year of layoffs, but on top of that, it is also going to be the year of a lot of games coming out again. So they're continuing the trend from 2018 of after that first quarter, just flooding the market with games. And I suspect, as long as the market is flooded with games, I suspect we're not going to see any major winners or game companies that make a lot of profit like they used to. What to do. On top of that, we've got Apex Legends for free. We've got Fortnite for free. We've got several other games that are just eating away at the time of people who would want to play the series, or potentially want to play the series. Right. Oh, darn it. I could have won had I just attacked. I would have won. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Activision Blizzard says, well, the article is Activision Blizzard : 800 jobs cut could, quote, negatively impact our business. Call of Duty publisher has set aside $150 million to compensate the affected staff. This is part of their SEC filing, the Security and Exchange Commission's filing. So yeah, there's something here that they're having to admit that laying off people will negatively affect their business, but they're going to do it anyways. So yeah, this is late stage capitalism at work. Not really anything to say there, honestly, other than no duh. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Techland shutting down its local publishing arms. I hate to say it, but today it's going to be a lot of stories like this. A lot of unhappy stories. Which, when is it ever not unhappy stories? Is a valid question to ask. Alright, moving on. Techland, the Polish company behind the Dying Light and Call of Warlords, has announced they're shutting down their publishing branch at the end of the year. This is not to be completely unexpected, frankly. A lot of companies, Starbreeze and Techland, are probably the two major companies that went into this idea of they were going to be a publisher right on the cusp of self-publishing being super easy even on consoles, and them not really having any reason why they would be good as publishers. Just because you've managed to self-publish your own game doesn't mean you have the money, the time, the skills, the effort, or the care to publish other people's games. Particularly when a lot of the companies that are going to come to you and ask you to publish their games are probably not going to have very good games. So it felt really silly that they were getting into publishing in the first place. Techland and Starbreeze in particular. It is, I suppose, you might take this as a good sign though, because it means that that they will refocus their efforts into making games like Dying Light, which was a great game, and I still want to get around to playing it, and not spend a bunch of time wasted on things that don't matter, or resources. That being said, it seems like it was only 13 people in their publishing in their publishing department anyways, or they're transferring everybody else out because they're saying only 13 people will be laid off by the time the shutdown is complete. So that's a considerably smaller number than 800 if we just are going to play by the numbers. I'm going to go a little long here. I'm going to make about an hour and a half video instead of an hour video. I think that's probably part of the flaw, is that I've got my timer set right now ever since I got my new phone to an hour, and I think we probably were doing closer to 2-hour videos each time. And that might explain why we're not finishing all the game coverage every week. That on top of the fact that there literally is just way too many games coming out. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Claustrophobia 1643 review, Fighting the Devil on His Turf. Okay, this is a board game. That's why I've never heard of it. Alright, so I don't need to talk about that. TechCrafter keeps getting me with these board games. They need to label things better. Speaking of I need to label things better, I don't know what I'm gonna do, so I'm just gonna draw a card. PC Gamer, or PC Games Inside, ooh, this is a different website I've never been to before, has an article, publisher Playdius, Playdius, has rebranded as Dear Villagers following a $2.2 million investment. I follow Playdius, or did follow them on Twitter, and it is very strange now to see this heavy push out happen on their Twitter feed from this new company that is unrecognizable, and they're putting out screenshots of game codes, like one code for their game, so odds of anybody getting it are pretty low. And I'm not 100% sure what Playdius really published, but I don't think it was terrible games. This article is, let's see, they publish games such as A Normal Lost Phone and Bury Me My Love. So, So they're going to clearly focus on PC and console instead of mobile games. So this is kind of a shift also from what they're going to be making.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Let's see what that does.
Ha, this guy's toast.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that really changes too much. Honestly, it's just they changed their name and they're putting out a lot of tweets, so they're irritating me and probably nobody else. Maybe I would mute them if they got too crazy. Darn it. I should have attacked this first. Cyan Worlds has put out on Bandcamp. Suppose we could do a bit of a web peek. Ages inspired by Mist, which is apparently 5 songs inspired by Mist. Seems like they're free downloads. Done by Russell Brower. Maybe he is the person who did the music for the other Mist games or not, which that music is pretty great. So if you're interested in that, I would say Google it and you should be able to find it. It's like one of the few happy announcements to say today. Gematsu has an article, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid Rise of Dracon trailer is out. This Power Ranger game is coming out for PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. Does it have... It's later in 2019. Do I really have time to look at the trailer? The graphics don't look great. And it looks like it's a fighting game. And not even... It looks like basically Mortal Kombat. Except for Power Ranger people. Instead. I am uncertain how popular Power Rangers are in the larger set, and I'm a little uncertain on what the appropriate age is for Power Rangers as far as their target audience.
My hand is full.
So, yeah. leave it at that. TechRaptor has an article delaying the inevitable visual novel Our World is Ended is pushed back. So it was going to be released on April 18th. Previously it was stated it was going to be released on March 22nd. So that kind of shows the weirdness too of visual novels, in that you're kind of never anywhere close to the budget you would like or need, or the amount of time you would like and need. Because you would think a visual novel is a relatively simple game to make, and there's no way it would be delayed at all, but things get delayed. That's just kind of the Japanese publishing way, is that there's no shame in delaying anything, whereas in the Western world there's total shame in delaying things, and they'd rather release an unfinished product instead. Next we have this article that I misread completely. GameIndustry.biz, the average Nintendo Japan employee earns $80,000, works less than works less than 8 hours per day, and on average works a Nintendo Japan worker stays with the company for 13.5 years. So what does that really mean? I don't know. Yeah, like what does that mean? And like the article goes, although entry-level wages are considerably lower, so okay. What is the average salary that somebody working in Japan can expect to have anyways? It is a little strange that they only stay at the company in Japan for 13.5 years, when my understanding is that Japanese salarymen stay at the companies forever until they die, so it's closer to, usually closer to 30 or 40 years. The employees also potentially get bonuses in June and December, plus pay increase every April. Okay. Let's see. The average working day is 7 hours 45 minutes, with the staff in head office stating and finishing slightly earlier than those in development. The question there is, if you're working about 8 hours a day, is that 7 days a week, or is that 6 days a week, or is that or is that like 5 days a week or 4 days a week? Like, based on your general understanding. Let's see. As of September 28, Nintendo employs 2,271 regular employees. The average age is 38.6 years old. Full-time employees stay at the company on average of 13.5 years. So they certainly don't employ a lot of people. It's kind of surprising that they can make any games for such a small staff, that is. Yeah, that is an interesting revolution. The company plans to hire 81 graduates this year, a significant increase over the 59. There's a comparison here saying that Rockstar staff worked 100-hour weeks on Red Dead Redemption 2. That was a quote, though, so we're not sure if that really was the case or not. I don't know how, like, Nintendo, I don't think is in Tokyo. I don't think their offices are in Tokyo, so it might be slightly cheaper to live in that area. So $80,000 might be quite a lot of money, or it might be really expensive still, so it might not be a lot of money. That's where this is gonna fall apart. Is is just how expensive is that? Or how much is that really? And 80,000 probably isn't that much, honestly, because if you're working at Nintendo, good chance you've got a wife that's not really working anywhere, and thus that's just a that income is cut in half immediately if you've got a wife or if you've got children. Which maybe in Japan the average Nintendo employee has children or not. Oddly though, if we think about it, like, does Miyamoto have children? If he does, he hasn't talked about it. Yeah, it hasn't been announced. Does anybody that you can recognize at Nintendo have children? If they do, they don't talk about it. But yeah, $100,000 salary sounds like a lot, or an $80,000 salary sounds like a lot, but it may not be. And so I'd kind of have to compare quite a bit of information. So this information is kind of useless to me. Let's see if there's any comments here that would explain anything. The only thing I can really add to this GameIndustry.biz article is to say, well, when Nintendo was not performing so well on the Wii U, they didn't cut any employee salaries, so that might indicate that they weren't getting paid very much anyways, relatively speaking. Instead, they cut the salary of the top tier people. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Ape Out review going bananas. I saw a quick look of this game Ape Out, although the person doing the quick look on Giant Bomb actually was a friend of the person who made the game, so there's really no objective journalism going on there. Surprise, surprise. TechRaptor though gave it an 8.5. From what I saw, it seemed like it was kind of a small but stylish musical adventure game where it's kind of like a rogue game, not even a rogue-like game. It's a straight up rogue game where you're playing as this great ape that is rampaging either through a lab or through a building tower, and in the lab you're trying to move to the right of the screen through many levels. In the building you're trying to move down 30 levels, and you can smash people through glass or smash glass and grab people with guns, and yeah, it really is just kind of a rogue game that I think probably would give you about 3 or 4 hours of good fun entertainment before you lost the interest in it. And then the music is just stylized and plays well. TechRaptor gave it an 8.5 grade, so they're saying it's a great game, but it's definitely a shorter experience. Alright, so we've done all the daily quests here, and we've gone about an hour and 24 minutes. So I think this is a good point to break this up and move over to the European account. So stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.